Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. It means that Satya or the truth is just one but is called with different names by different people. This is one of the core values of Bharat since times immemorial. Now if you worship one god or 10 gods or 10,000 gods or none at all, the ultimate reality doesn't change, and that is called as Satya, which is a complex equation of creation, sustenance and destruction. And if that Satya takes a physical manifestation, that is revered as the Shiva Lingam. Of all the divine manifestations in Bharat, Shiva Lingam holds the top-notch importance, and the Sri Rudram from Yajurvedam explains us why. Apatala Nabastalanta Bhuvana Brahmanda Mavispurat Jyoti Spartika Linga Mauli Vilasatpurnendu Vam Tamrutai Asto Kaplutameka Mesha Manisham Rudranu Vakam Japam Dhyaye Dipsita Siddhaye Dhruvapadam Viprobishim Chet Chivam. This verse, the literal translation is Shivalingam is revered as a microcosm, a miniature representation of everything in this universe. So when one starts worshipping a Shivalingam, it means that that person is praying for the betterment and the good and the peace of everybody, every living and non-living thing in this universe. As that is the most noble ideology ever, that is the reason why Shivalingam is considered as the most sacred manifestations of the divine energy. Now coming to the literal aspects of it, the word lingam means mark, a mark of something tangible. Like I said, as Shivalingam is revered as a microcosm of the universe, it is a mark or a kind of a representation of the universe itself. In fact, in Indian languages, we have this word as Strilingam, Punling in the grammar, right? It is also a derivative from the word lingam, which means a mark. Now, there are hundreds of temples of Mahadev across India, and this is the story of 5 such very powerful shrines of Mahadev. The 5 elements of this nature, fire, air, earth, water and space, revered as the Pancha Bhoota, which have profound impact on our lives. And these 5 energy forms are manifested in the form of 5 different Shivalingas. And these 5 shrines put together is called as Pancha Bhoota Sthalam, which means the place or the land of the Pancha Bhutas. These 5 shrines are in the southern part of India, and this documentary is our first attempt in bringing forward the glorious temples and their heritage in simple format for everybody to understand. Let's get started. The first shrine is Sri Jambukeshwara in Tiruvannaikkaval, Tamil Nadu. Here, Mahadev is revered with the name of Jambukeshwara, and the Jambukeshwara Lingam is created and consecrated by Akhilandeshwari Amman, a form of Parvati Devi herself. And the base energy form of this Shivalingam is water. And as per the legend of this temple, Akhilandeshwari Amman consecrated the Shivalingam out of the water taken from the Kaveri river, and it is still reminiscent that the underground water stream which continuously oozes out of the Sanctum Sanctorum since hundreds of years. Even though we pump out the water, just the underground stream, it oozes out the water around the Shivalingam continuously. And this place is revered as Appulingam, or a lingam that's made out of water. And here Mahadev is worshipped as the Adhipati of Jala Shakti, and hence the name Jalalingam. The second shrine is Sri Kalahastishwara, located in Andhra Pradesh, in a place called Srikalahasti. And as per the legend, Mahadev self-manifested himself into a Shivalingam with Vayu or air as the base energy form. Here, the Garbhagriha does not have any flowing air or ventilation at the top. It's absolutely standstill climate inside. But there is just one deepam hanging from the roof, what you can see in the picture towards the left side. That deepam continuously flickers as if it's confronting with an airflow. And the most important thing is this deepam has been continuously burning since centuries, with of course the oil being fed every day. But the fact is, this deepam holds a very important place in this temple. And one more very important thing is, nobody, not even the chief priest, touches the lingam. This is a very strict tradition that nobody touches the Shivalingam of Sri Kalahastishwara. And also this is the only temple probably across Bharat which is open during eclipse, and especially the eclipse is a high time for this temple. Here Mahadev is revered as the Adhipati of Vayu Shakti, hence the name Vayulingam. And the third one is Sri Arunachaleshwara. This shrine is in Tamil Nadu in a place called Tiruvannamalai. And Sri Arunachaleswara is consecrated with fire as the base energy form right on the foot of Arunachalam mountain, which as per the legend of this temple was once an active volcano. And just like Mount Kailash in the Himalayas, which is whole mountain is revered as Mahadev, same way here the entire Arunachalam mountain is worshipped as a manifestation of Mahadev himself. And also the Lingodbhavam event, which is celebrated on the Mahashivaratri, where Shiva comes out as a Jyotistambha. This is the place which is revered as the place where the Lingodbhavam happened for the first time, which is eventually the genesis of the event of Mahashivaratri. Here Mahadev is revered as the Adhipati of Agni Shakti, and that's the reason why it is called as Agni Lingam. The fourth one is Sri Ekambareswara, situated in Tamil Nadu again, in a place called Kanchipuram. Here Shiva is consecrated by Kamakshi Amman with earth as the base energy form. The lingam here is made out of clay or mud, and there is no abhishekam done to the Shiva lingam. This temple has a mango tree which is more than 3,500 years old, and as per the legend, Kamakshi Amman consecrated Ekambareswara under that mango tree. In fact, the name Ekambareswara, which means Ek is one, it's one mango tree, and Amra is Am as in Hindi, Amra is mango. So Ekambareswara is the one who is consecrated under a mango tree. And that 3,500 years old tree is still well preserved in this temple. Here Mahadev is worshipped as the Adhipati of Prudhvi Shakti, and hence the name Prudhvi Lingam. Fifth and the last shrine is Sri Chidambareswara, situated in Tamil Nadu again, in a place called Chidambaram. This is a very mystical temple. Here Shiva is consecrated with the emptiness or space as the base form of energy, Akash. And in the Garbhagriha, there is no Shivalingam, it's just an empty room when seen from materialistic perspective. But Chidambaram holds incredible importance from a spiritual standpoint. They say that the one who can visualize Shiva in Chidambaram can see Shiva everywhere in this universe. So how do we perceive the emptiness in a more mystical and spiritual dimension? That's the whole essence of this shrine. We are planning for a very detailed documentary on Chidambaram alone, and would be soon out maybe in a month or so. It is such a mystical and incredibly important place that tests our perceptive abilities of a human being. Also, Chidambaram holds a very important place in Bharatanatyam, as this place is revered as a place where both Shiva and Parvati perform their cosmic dance together. Anyways, limiting our context only to Pancha Bhoota Sthalam as of now, Mahadev here is revered as the Adhipati of Akasha Shakti, or the power of emptiness, and hence the name Akasha Lingam. Now that is Pancha Bhoota Sthalam, all these 5 shrines put together: Arunachaleswara, Kalahastiswara, Chidambareswara, Ekambareswara and Jambukeshwara. All these 5 shrines are consecrated in different points in the history in the past, and they are not done all at once. This is a very important observation, and you will understand in a short while why I am bringing this up. Coming to the current temples of these 5 shrines, they have great heritage and architecture preserved by the great Tamil kings for thousands of years. A very important observation about the Pancha Bhoota Sthalam is all these 5 shrines of Mahadev are positioned in a very interesting manner geographically. If you observe the longitudes, they are pretty much on the 79 degrees east longitude. All of them, all 5. Now the moment we hear this, people will have all sorts of liberal interpretations about why they are positioned that way. But what could be the actual reason? Is there any significance, or is it just pure coincidence? Well, the answer is I don't know. And from here on in this documentary, I'm going to present you just my observations, which are not conclusive but are conducive to understand, or at least try to understand, why geographically all these 5 shrines of the Pancha Bhoota Sthalam are positioned the way they are. And again I repeat, from this point onwards, what I'm trying to share with you is just my observations, and they are not conclusive but definitely conducive. Now, to start in a very basic or a primitive rational perspective, it could just be coincidence. So let's put the coincidence part aside and let's try to understand if there is any significance at all. So from that standpoint, if you look at it, and from my limited knowledge, broadly I see 2 possibilities. One is an astronomical significance for that alignment, and the other one is an Ayurvedic significance for that alignment. Now let's take one by one. Now, to understand the Pancha Bhoota Lingas as to why they are aligned geographically, we need to flip over to Ujjain Mahakaleshwar. Here Mahadev is revered as the Adhipati of time and death. Ujjain Mahakaleshwar holds incredible importance in the fields of astronomy, Jyotishya, mathematics and a lot more in ancient as well as in medieval Indian history. To understand Ujjain and its importance, we should go to Surya Siddhantam, which is the oldest treatise on astronomy. If at all you're interested to understand the ancient Indian sciences behind the calculation, mathematics and whatnot, if there is one book, I would suggest you to go and read Surya Siddhantam. It puts your intelligence, patience, everything to test. Such a complex book which explains about time computations, astronomy, eclipses, planetary motion, you name whatnot, everything related to astronomy. And this book is rather authored by Surya Bhagavan himself. And that's what it is believed to be. And the interesting part is the calculations, everything that is given in Surya Siddhantam holds right even till today. It is just an incredible book. I'm just struggling to make one documentary only on Surya Siddhantam. Let us see when I would be blessed with that. Just waiting for the day. So for now, let's read this verse given in Surya Siddhantam. Chapter 1, verse number 62. It says that the imaginary line or the Madhya Sutra, which runs from the South Pole up until the North Pole, passes through the cities like Avanti, which is Ujjain, and Rohitaka, which is Rohtak. Now this is one of the earliest references which talks about the concept of longitude. Not just this, if you go deep down into the Hindu astronomy or Jyotisha Shastra, the latitude and longitude concepts were very, very ancient and native to Bharat. So this reinforces our observation about, or rather a question about, why the Pancha Bhoota Lingas are vertically aligned on one longitude. So first and very important thing is, the concept of longitudes was well in practice back then. At least to that extent we can say for sure. Now the Madhya Sutra, which we just saw in Surya Siddhantam, it is called as the prime meridian in today's terms. So prime meridian is an imaginary line which runs across the North Pole to South Pole. Basically that's where a day starts and a day ends. And in Bharat, the prime meridian, since thousands of years, there are many scriptural references of Aryabhatta, Varahamihira, almost 1500, 2000 years back books written where they quote the prime meridian of Bharat. Also, Ujjain is located on the Tropic of Cancer. Now this positioning of Ujjain being on the Tropic of Cancer as well as on the prime meridian made Ujjain as a very convenient place to compute the day and night cycles in ancient India. Now this prime meridian of Bharat served as an inspiration for many Arab and Muslim scholars who learned astronomy from Bharat back then. And that eventually multiplied and many countries had their own prime meridians. The same concept was basically replicated across many countries. So in 1884, there was an international prime meridian conference in which the British somehow managed to shift the prime meridian to Greenwich to say that day starts from their land. Anyways, and the rest is history, but the fact is here, Ujjain has been the center of time computation in Bharat. This is the most important statement. Now if I just say that, you might not be able to appreciate or understand why exactly it is so. There is a lot more to it in terms of its geographical location and all, but that we will see in a different documentary. It will be too much of a length in this one. But for now, we just need to understand that Ujjain is a place of time computation in Bharat. And there is also a theological significance to it, why Shiva is worshipped as the god of time and death here. And we'll see all those in the subsequent documentary which I'll be making on Surya Siddhantam. Now do not lose out on where we started. We wanted to understand the vertical alignment of these Pancha Bhoota Lingas as to why they are geographically aligned on single strip of day and night cycle. And then we briefly saw about Ujjain, which was the center for time computation in ancient Bharat. Now we are almost at the end of the equation, that is with Brahma Muhurtam. Soon after this you will be able to understand or make sense about all these things together. So just hold on tight. Brahma Muhurtam. Now as you know that the day has 24 hours, right? If we ask a simple question, why 24? The modern day Gregorian calendar or the answers mostly get back to the Egyptians. That is the farthest that mostly the Western sciences can go. It's not beyond that. But the fact of the matter is, this 24-hour system has its roots in Surya Siddhantam. It has 24 horas. So interestingly, the word hora, which is a Sanskrit word, also is cognate with the modern day hour. which is a period of 60 minutes. So 24 hours make a day. So this entire concept of 24 hours making a day, the Hora concept, is native to Bharat again. And also there is an astronomical significance and the way the earth rotates to bring this to a 24-hour period in Horas. Now, just like many other contributions which came from India but never seen the light of day, this is also another concept which came from Bharat and is being followed across the world. But the only historical reference is the farthest that the Western sciences could go was only towards Egyptians, while we have the recorded evidences of Surya Siddhantam, which is thousands of years old, and this practice has been there. Anyways, just like the concept of Horas, which is a 24-hour period of 60 minutes each, there is another mechanism of dividing a day into 30 periods with 48 minutes each. And each window of 48 minutes is called as a muhurtam or muhurat, depending on the vernacular variations that we have. The broad difference between horas and muhurtas is horas is mostly for our day-to-day activities, while muhurtam is more for the auspicious or the ritualistic aspects. So from sunrise to sunrise, it is 30 periods of 48 minutes each, or from sunrise to sunrise, it is 24 periods of 60 minutes each. So that is muhurta and hora respectively. Now this 29th period, just one period before the sunrise, the 29th period of 48 minutes is called as Brahma Muhurtam, and it is revered as a very auspicious time in the entire day to perform any kind of activities which are related to yoga or theological rituals, whatnot. So this period is a very important period. This is called as Brahma Muhurtam. So now let's see why we are talking about Brahma Muhurtam. Now if we take all the 5 Pancha Bhoota Kshetras and Ujjain, so that's 5 plus 1 6, all these 6 locations, if we take the latitude and longitude, and based on that if we calculate the sunrise timings, of course it varies with the time of the year, but it doesn't matter, pick up any day and calculate the sunrise for all these 6 locations. Now if we see, all the Panchabhuta Kshetras are on the 79 degrees east longitude, and Ujjain is on the 75.76 degrees east longitude. So there is a difference of 4 to 5 degrees almost. So all the 5 Panchabhuta Kshetras receive sunrise at one point in time, and after that for almost 18 to 20 minutes Ujjain Mahakaleshwar receives its sunrise. So basically sun rises in Panchabhuta Kshetras early, of course, and after that, after almost 18 to 20 minutes period, Ujjain Mahakaleshwar receives its sunrise. This is very important to understand. Based on the sunrise, if we calculate the Brahma Muhurtam, which is 1 hour 36 minutes before sunrise, the 48-hour period, that's what we just saw, right? So it is the 29th period. So it starts at 1 hour 36 minutes before sunrise. So this is how the times are looking like. Now the point here is the Panchabhuta Kshetras have their Brahma Muhurtam at its almost mid-range or peak, and that is the moment when Ujjain Mahakaleshwar Brahma Muhurtam begins. Now I do not know if there is any kind of religious importance behind this time, but at least counting in the fact that Ujjain Mahakaleshwar has been the center of time computation, especially in these ritualistic aspects in Bharat since thousands of years, there could be a time computation based connect as to why all these 5 are vertically aligned with Ujjain Mahakaleshwar. And probably that is the reason to have that alignment of the 5 forces of the nature with Ujjain Mahakaleshwar, who is the Adipati of time and death. Now again, this is just my observation and is absolutely not any assertion whatsoever. Again I repeat, so the Panchabhuta Lingas, to have them in sync with Ujjain Mahakaleshwar in the Brahma Muhurtam period, when the Brahma Muhurtam for these 5 Shivalingas is at its peak, that's when the Brahma Muhurtam for Ujjain Mahakaleshwar begins. Now this could possibly one reason why they are vertically aligned, so that they are in perfect sync with Ujjain Mahakaleshwar. And let's move on. Now that is the astronomical significance on the possible reasons, one of the possible reasons why Panchabhuta Kshetras are vertically aligned in one single strip. Now another observation or kind of a significance is coming in from Ayurveda. Let's very briefly see that as well. As per Ayurvedam, the whole human body or body of any living thing on this planet is comprising of these 5 elemental forces of air, fire, water, earth and space. And a perfect healthy body is nothing but a balanced interplay of these elemental forces in human body. Now, as the Panchabhuta Kshetras are revered as the energy centers for each of these elemental forces in the nature, signifying a balanced proportion of these five forces could be a spiritual significance because of which they are vertically aligned. But also we need to understand the fact that these are not consecrated at one point in time in the past. It happened over centuries and centuries. And also one very important thing is these are not consecrated by human beings. They are either consecrated by Parvati Devi or self-manifested by Shiva himself. So there is a lot of possible spiritual significance as to why they are vertically aligned. So from an Ayurvedic standpoint, like I said, a well-balanced, proportionate forces of nature in the human body signifies a healthy life. And maybe any one of you who is an Ayurvedic expert can try and research more in this direction. Now, the vertical alignment of all the Panchabhuta Kshetras could be pure coincidence or there could be some significance. But rolling back all the way where we started to understand the very definition of a Shivalingam, Sham Karoti iti Shamkaraha, the one who unconditionally bestows all the auspiciousness, is called as Shankara. And the worship of a Shivalingam, like I mentioned, it is a microcosm of this entire universe. And any person who is worshipping a Shivalingam is praying for the peace and prosperity of the universe and everybody living in this universe. And this is our first attempt in bringing forward the heritage of all these great temples of Bharat. And as always, thanks for watching.